and welcome back to What Heather Did. I'm Heather, and I like to do stuff. So today's video, because words are hard. Today's video is for the Garage Band Flip Challenge, hosted by Marjorie at the Asking Spot. My plan is to put a thing there, flyer, if I can figure that out. And the challenge is to take a piece that is either musical and give it a makeover, or some piece and give it a musical note. Oh, that was good. Anyway, so this piece that I'm doing was originally supposed to be my entry for a trash to treasure challenge, and I found it on the side of the road, and this whole makeover, and it's beautiful and perfect, and I love it. And then I screwed it up because I was like, oh, one more thing. It should be fine. And it wasn't. It was not fine. And so I had to take everything off and fix it. But what happened was I took everything off and I just let it sit there because I was just heartbroken about what I'd done. So then this popped up, and I was looking at that piece. So some other pieces, like, what do I want to do? Like, do I want to do this? And I looked at that piece and I was like, I'm gonna paint it black. Yep, that is what I'm gonna do. And that's part of my musical note to it. It got painted black. So I have a question, like off topic. Do you prefer the original version by the Rolling Stones, or how do you feel about the new Zac Brown Band version of Painted Black? Because I'm kind of digging it. I do love the song, and I'm kind of digging. Anyway, I'd love to know in the comments down below. Which version do you prefer? And so I'm going to include a little bit of the original piece, like where I found it and what I did to it, because there were a lot of repairs that were needed. So I'm going to include a little bit of that, but then I'll skip forward to what I did for this piece, specifically for the musical challenge, or the Garage Band Flip Challenge. So, and be sure to check out the link below that includes the playlist. Check out all the other videos, because they're gonna be awesome. It's gonna be amazing. So be sure to check that out and watch all the videos. So, okay, here we go. And here's the piece I found on the side of the road by a dumpster. Oh yeah. Oops, I meant to take a picture. I'm looking over all the damage. You can see it's really dirty. There's this split here, and I'm not sure how bad it is, but you can see because of that, the base is pulling away there, so it doesn't stand up. It does not at this point stand up. Look, a friend. So just kind of checking out, trying to figure out how bad that is, looking for any other damage. The door's open. None of the glass is broken. And it actually had the shelf pieces. Those were laying there too. And there's a gouge here, which should be easy to patch. Again, doors work. I love my little bonnet. It protects my ears from the sun. And the top is filthy and has some moisture damage. I vacuumed it all up. I actually cleaned it. I didn't record me cleaning because who wants to watch that? But there was a lot of dirt in here. This has been busted previously and repaired, which I didn't notice before. But I mean, it looks fine. It's sturdy. And there's a lot of dirt in here from just West Texas winds. I had to vacuum all that out, which is boring to watch, so I didn't do that. But then I talked about cleaning it. Whatever. So this is the top. This piece was sitting in here. I took the light off and took the little hook, and when I first picked it up, I suspected there were mice in there. There was a smell. And you can see I cleaned it already, but there was a lot of poop and stuff in here. That's all damaged. This is plastic, which has clearly been damaged. So I cleaned this off, but I think what I'm gonna end up doing, because this is and it smells bad, and that's just gross, is I'll pop this off tomorrow because it's getting kind of late, and replace this with a half-inch piece of plywood. I didn't want to have to do that because like all that's attached to it, but I can make it work. It's not a big deal. And this is plastic, so I may come up with a different idea for the top. I may just end up redoing the top and the base. We'll see. Here I'm removing the base. It's just a couple screws and then dowels. I couldn't fix it with it attached, so I'm taking it all off. And took the screws out on both sides with some very poor camera work. And honestly, after I got those out and pulled all these staples out so the base would actually come off, I just hit it and then it came off. So here's the base, and you can see that little crack. But then when I really started looking at it, because I tried patching it, and I flipped it over, what I found was the whole base was made of this composite material of some sort, and it was cracked all the way through. Like, all the way. And it's a big crack. It goes pretty far back. And it was right where the upper portion was sitting. The base that it was sitting on is the same material, and the wood grain is some sort of like the paper sticker covering. It's not real. So this is oops, I hit my microphone. When I decided I really needed to come up with something else, like I was just gonna have to redo this for sure, and I figured I could remake this. I've never done something like that before, but I gave it a try. I got the latches, I've got a template, so I could use some plywood to just remake it and try making a new base, a new part, and it would all be a new adventure and trying new things. So perfect for a piece I got out of the trash. As a template for creating the top and the bottom, I took that top piece that I pulled out. I took that you can see all the damage by the mice, and I just took that to make the template. So I just traced it out so that I could cut from actually just scrap plywood. It wasn't even the same type of plywood, but it's the same size. I just took my little circular saw, talking's hard, and cut the pieces out. I mean, just triangles. It's quadrilateral. Wow, that was terrible. After I got them cut, I used my router table and just ran them through there. Obviously I'm going to have some sanding to do, and it doesn't exactly match what was originally there, but I like it, and I think it looks really nice. Here are both pieces cut and ready to go. I did use this top piece as a template for where to drill the holes and all that stuff, so that's how I knew what to do there. After marking everything, I just drilled the holes for the dowels, which should all line up since I used, the original piece as a template. It should be fine, right? Now, this is going to skip forward a little bit because I had already primed the pieces, then attached them, because I thought that'd be easier, which it was. I actually had to have more than two hands. I had to have two people. My son helped me hold this all together because the side pieces were kind of falling forward, so it was really hard to line up. But just used a mallet, held it really carefully, and just kept hitting it until it all went together. There's glue on the dowels as well, so that everything will stay together. And I just kept hitting stuff until it went back together, because that's, the solution for everything. Hit it till it goes back together. After I had that all snugly put on there, I re-drilled the pilot holes, the holes I'd marked, and then put the screws back in to make everything fit together, and ta-da, it was done. The top was exactly the same as the bottom, except I drilled this hole for cords, so just using a 1-inch spade bit. I'm planning on priming, but I still decided to give it a quick scuff sand, just in case, because this is really slick material. So I just took 120 grit sandpaper, gave everything a really quick scuff sand. It doesn't take that much time, so to me it's worth it just to make sure everything really sticks well and I don't have to worry about my paint coming off. I decided to give this Ben shellac-based primer a try. I have a different primer I usually try, but this is all about trying new things, so I give it a try. The only real exposed wood are the top and the base, so not really any other bleed through to worry about. I stirred this for a long time. Everybody that I've watched that use it says just make sure everything can be disposed of. So I have the aluminum lining my tray, and I'm going to try it with a roller first and then with a brush to see which one I like better. I probably should have used a smaller roller, but this is what I had. It went on smooth, like what you would expect with a roller. I didn't tape the glass, which may have been a mistake. The back was just done to reduce the glare. Because this stuff is really hard to scrape off of glass, which is to be expected. And I didn't remove the glass because the first one I tried to take out, I almost broke the glass. I do end up taking it out later, but I don't know. The roller was pretty easy. I think without the glass, I would have liked it a little bit better because then I could just get the whole surface. I used a chip brush. I didn't like it. This stuff is too runny for a chip brush. I didn't like it at all. And I don't know what's going on with the recording, but it looks terrible. The texture wasn't very good. I really didn't like it. And the taping did no good. It just got under it. All right. We have moved way forward to after I messed everything up and I'm ready to try again. So after fixing everything, I sprayed over it with my favorite gray spray primer. And here I am attaching the brackets for the legs that I found, which I'll show in a minute. And it just drilled out a hole, not too deep because I don't want to go all the way through the wood, and then screwed these brackets on, which was hilarious. I kept dropping the screws. Like there were pilot holes, everything, and I kept dropping the screws. But the brackets go in this way, so the metal piece sticks in there, and then you just screw them on, which I also had to use. They came with screws. They were too long for the base, and the original screws on the legs were too long as well, so I had to cut those off. But these are just wooden legs I got off of Amazon. I am using this mist tint paint I found at Home Depot because I like it. And like I said, I want to paint it black. I'm going to use my paint sprayer to paint this. I just watered the paint down a little bit, not too much. And when I'm using the sprayer, you'll notice sometimes I did test sprays over on my fence because, you know, why not? To make sure I liked the rate at which it was coming out and everything looked good. And sometimes if I don't move smoothly or whatever, it leaves little spots. Be careful not to go over it too much because you don't want to create runs. This was a pretty warm day for me, so I didn't have to wait too long for it to dry enough for me to avoid runs. And I got all the surfaces on one side, going in one direction. Checked for any spots that I wanted to go back over. And then turn your nozzle to go a different direction. That's one of the things to remember for a paint sprayer. The nozzle direction actually matters for the direction of your spray. And again, I missed a spot, but I just left it for a minute to avoid runs. You don't want to just spray back and forth. That's a good way to get all your drips. And look, the force of the spray. Some of my little paint tints didn't want to stay. Sorry, I thought it was funny. To get the other side, don't do this because I kept hitting the bottom of the sprayer on the wet paint right there. Don't do that. So I should have waited a little bit longer before trying to get in that, but I didn't. So be careful when you're doing this because you have all those nooks and crannies not to get it in, not to put your sprayer in wet paint. To put the glass back in, it says use clear silicone. I couldn't find one that said just clear silicone. I also wanted a smaller thing. This said better than silicone. It was waterproof, paintable, would adhere to multiple surfaces, whatever. It was clear, said it would work for windows. So I just ran a little bead without the glass in it, run a little bead around all the edges. And I cut my tip very carefully. I tried to test it. I cut and then test it, cut and then test it till I got the size that I liked. And after you run your bead, you just they make a tool for this too, but you know, I just use my finger. Just run your finger along to smooth that out. To put the glass in, I actually put gloves on so that I didn't get fingerprints on the glass that I was trying to put in. And just very carefully lay the glass in, put my hand under there so it didn't fall. After I got it in, I just kind of situated it a little bit to make sure it was even on all sides. And then go back over it with the same silicone stuff I'd used before. It was easy, it looks nice, and if you do get this stuff anywhere that you don't want it, don't mess with it while it's wet, because I tried that, it didn't go well. Once it was dry, I got some like on the glass, I just used a little razor blade to cut it or scrape it off real easily. So if you do get it somewhere you didn't want it, just let it dry first. Now I know originally when I primed it, I hadn't taken the glass out. It was held in place with these little plastic strips, but it looked really bad with the paint because you had these brown plastic strips with the same brown. So I was like, well, whatever. I popped those out pretty easily without damaging anything else. The one was really hard to take out, but the others, those plastic pieces came out, took the glass out, and that was a much better choice in terms of refinishing this. So if I were going to do it again, I would take the glass out first. Here is the backboard, which after I messed up, I cleaned it all off and then just painted it black. And the surface is a little bit too smooth, which I discover. So my plan was to take these faux music sheets, which I decoratively burn the edges to make it look really cute, and use these, decoupage these on to make the whole back. That was my plan, was to make the whole background. I was kind of playing with the layout, and I ended up deciding I kind of just liked it with them straight. Even if it didn't line up, I liked the way it looked. So this was my plan. I was going to lay all the papers out and then decoupage that down and then top coat over that. But it didn't work out. I don't know if my decoupage was old. I don't know if just because the back is too smooth, but I got one row down and it looked funny. So I decided to wait before I did everything and check on it the next day. And the next day it was kind of peeling and it came right off. Like you can see a couple spots that it was stuck well. The rest of it just pulled right off without any, even the glue when I was peeling that off, just a couple spots stuck. So backup plan was to take this wallpaper that I had bought for another project and just peel and stick wallpaper and use this to cover it. which I cannot tell you how sad I was at this point. Like, I'm just putting this down, and I was so sad. This was very easy to put down. It stuck well. I just unrolled it and used my hand as I went. But this was not my plan, and I was not happy at this point. But it is what it is. Okay, here's me reattaching the doors and making funny faces. I probably should have laid it back down. I don't really know. But I had a lot of back and forth with this. Put the screw in, drop the screw, try to do this by myself. And even trying to get the doors on like this, removing the glass and the doors and then putting them back was much easier in terms of refinishing. I'd never refinished anything with glass. So if I were to do it again, definitely just take the glass out, the doors off. It would make everything a little bit easier. So just reattached it, made some funny faces. Listen to my kids be really noisy in the background.
Somebody? Yeah, there he is. Oh, I just don't see.
And yay, it closed without scraping, without doing anything. It was perfect. Found these pulls on Etsy. They came with these, which are going to be too long, like stick way out of the cabinet. And since it's glass, you'd see that. So I've marked where I'm going to cut it off. Also, these are going to be painted because as cute as they are, they don't match. So I'm going to spray them. So here we are, again, with my noisy children. The pulls are spray painted gold to match everything else, and I made the hardware black so that it would be a little bit more hidden. You can see I also cut them off. I made really funny faces while I tried to get it just perfect. I know the cabinet looks really wobbly, but it's because the back isn't on there, so there's no side-to-side support. The legs themselves aren't wobbly. And to reattach the back, which I didn't record, I just laid it down, made sure it was straight, used some nails and a hammer and hammered it in place. Easy peasy. Okay, so here's a reminder of where we started. This mouse damaged, broken piece that wouldn't even stand up. And we have now painted it black. And my two favorite musical boxes, by the way, if you're wondering why those are in there. This is my GarageBand flip. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the other videos in the playlist.
And make sure to like and subscribe to this video if you want some more. Thanks for watching. Bye!